Welcome to Transforming and Thriving
with best friends Brooke, Stacy, and Neelia.
Podcast dedicated to women sharing their inspirational stories.
Hey there, everyone. We're so excited to be back. I'm Neelia.
And I'm Brooke. And I'm so honored to have Claudia Whitney here with us today. She is an incredible human I met years back when I was actually attending a transformation retreat, and she was one of the special guests. I was immediately drawn to her energy and just her approach in life. I ended up working with her some individually, attending some of her workshops, such as her Choose Your Word she does every year, where you choose your intention or your word of focus for the year. And I did attend an amazing self-care workshop during the lovely COVID times. I have continued to follow her work, and I'm really excited to have her here and for her to tell her story and learn a bit more about her. But I wanted to read her bio so I don't leave anything out. So Claudia is an intuitive business coach, a hypnotherapist for women, helping coaches, leaders, creatives, and entrepreneurs navigate the inner and outer work of building a business and life that feels expansive, aligned, and sustainable. She's passionate about guiding women through the mindset shifts, nervous system regulation, and subconscious reprogramming that's really needed to help people step into their fullest, most expressed selves. She's lived all over the world and reinvented herself multiple times, starting from scratch, pivoting careers, and embracing the unknown. Claudia knows firsthand the power of transformation. She believes that even in the messiest seasons, there's magic to be found, and her mission is to help women own their brilliance and thrive on their own terms. And I just want to add to this, during my group and individual work with her, I experienced so much growth and change through her guidance, her approach, and her perspective. She has this amazing ability to create space for people to show up as they are, highlight their true self, and then tap into their desires. So I'm really glad you're here, Claudia.
Oh my gosh, I feel all teary-eyed and soft
Yeah.
and gooey. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. I feel so honored that you all asked me to be here today.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Yeah, it was so good. Whenever I do anything like this, it has me reflect on, my life, and especially with this topic. So I've been in reflection all morning, thinking about my life and smiling a lot and really proud of myself.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so, well, could you elaborate on that? What is maybe a major transition or a life event that you experienced that marked kind of like a before and after in your life?
Yeah, I have so many to choose from. And, when I looked at all of them, they all have something similar. And that was really like pivoting in my life, like either moving countries or pivoting careers. And, the last sort of big one that I can talk about is transitioning from being a yoga teacher, moving into being a coach, and eventually a business coach like I am now. And at the same time, I moved countries. And yeah, it was really a rock bottom moment for me. I was in my early 40s. I had a small child and had this huge, huge desire and fire around being a coach and being in this new place and having had success in other careers and the more recent one, which was yoga at that time. It was so hard for me to feel confident in this new career, new phase of life that I was in. And so yeah, that's the first, I guess maybe not the first, that's the last, the last sort of huge pivot that I made that was, yeah, a really big transformational portal for me to go through.
That's a lot to take on at once. Yeah, moving not only, to a different area, but a different country and starting over again, that's a lot of change, which change is hard and it can bring up so much uncertainty. Do you mind kind of describing a little more of what it felt like to be in that uncertainty or kind of that feeling of the unknown?
Yeah, I normally, I'm pretty good at bracing uncertainty and it I really thrive in that area just because I have reinvented myself so many times. And I think what makes this one different was I was a mom, newly navigating big leaps, and I lost my confidence where before there was just more of I think, I have nothing to lose mentality, where this time it felt like there was more weight to this, shift and life change. And so, yeah, I feel like I was moving through it with a lot of insecurity. And so I felt, yeah, like I just wanted someone so badly to give me like a key with the answers. Like I just kept looking outside of myself, like someone has the answer somewhere because I just do not. And I just actually don't know how to make this work.
So you talked about like your uncertainty. Is there something that helped you overcome that self-doubt or maybe fear when you were making that decision to reinvent yourself? You talked about, your child and being a mom.
Mhm.
Did that help propel you, or was anything very specific maybe that you could share?
I think what propelled me and what always propels me is the desire to, I had this huge fire within me to be a coach and to help people and to help women specifically transform their lives. And so I think I really leaned on that, really just trusted myself, looked at all the past versions of myself that had made bold decisions like that, took risk, and it always worked out. So I really had to lean into self trust and into the
Mhm.
evidence of it working out for me in the past.
Wow.
I really love what you just shared about looking at your past and using that as evidence. And it's so easy to doubt ourselves and be hard on ourselves. And so, this idea of reflecting and kind of asking yourself, are these thoughts that I have true? Let me look back at the past evidence and maybe using that as a tool for building your confidence and propelling you forward. Are there any specific things that have helped you that you could share with others who might be going through not trusting themselves?
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's like, how do you start trusting yourself? And one thing that I really work on strengthening is my intuition. And I think I work more on my connection to my intuition, right? Because it's like I hear a whisper and then I have to trust myself, right, to follow that whisper, to follow the nudge. And so it is self trust, but it's also like the thing before self trust is you get like a message, whether it's like, a curiosity. And so I think that I work more on listening to that. And that means taking care of myself. That means doing things like meditation, journaling, nature, space, rest, not burning myself out, not overworking. Um, so I think after years of like figuring this out, I would say strengthening and honing in and trusting those little nudges and whisper by taking care of myself internally, externally, has been a key. And if anyone were listening, we're like, how do I do that? I do things like I have a journal that I keep, like an intuition journal, where when anything has worked out, or there's been a synchronicity or wild coincidence, or just something wild, right? We've all had that where things are flowing, aligning. I actually like write the date and I write it down. So I collect evidence to go back to when I'm not feeling the self trust. When I'm not feeling that I'm that intuitive, I go back and I find the evidence, kind of like what I said earlier about looking at the past of when it worked out. I really believe in like stacking as much evidence as you can to, yeah, make you feel confident in the times that you feel really wobbly.
I love that so much. It's taking data and then going back and looking at it and having almost in a way an objective way. Me, I'm a behavior analyst, so I love data. So I love that idea of really journaling specific moments where something's worked out or you're grateful for something, whatever that looks like for you, but then you can go back on it. And that helps kind of give you that boost or reminder for evidence. I can't remember where I read it, but it was talking about how our brain is wired to look for the negative and it's like a protective mechanism. So we have to kind of work towards the opposite of like looking for the positive. And that's why gratitude journals and things like that work so well, to help you feel better or see more of a positive perspective. I like the idea of that intuition journal. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I'm even thinking about another thing that I do is or another thing I lean on is, something higher, something bigger than you, and whether that
Mm,
is nature or your higher self or a future self or God or, anything that, you can hand it over to. I have a little trust box, I have friends with a God box, and sometimes there are things that are out of your control. And
yeah.
yeah, the more that we grip and hold on and try to manipulate, right? We all know that that never works. But for me, I guess you can see I'm very visual and I like to touch things. Like I like my journal, so I'll literally write things on a piece of paper, and I've done this with jars in the past. And I'll like hand it over. I'll like put it into a jar, put it into my trust box, and just know that I have to surrender.
Mm. Wow, I love that. Another great idea. And I'm similar to you, very visual. I've got my vision board behind me. I've got all these different symbols around me as anchors, but this idea of letting something go physically putting something into a jar, physically throwing. I've done that actually in a workshop where you write something down and then you like throw it away, releasing it. So that's great.
Yeah, something about that feels so good. It's like, okay, I'm actually can see it somewhere else. I put it away. Some our minds are wild, right? They just like what you said about the mind and what it wants to look for. It's just like sometimes it feels a little out of control. So for me, any way that I can like, okay, I'm putting it over here, physically putting it over here. It's just helpful for me. I have lots of tricks because I need to be tricked. Like I need to trick myself into things sometimes.
Love that. And I think that's amazing. It's so funny because there's so many times where maybe a friend or a family member has asked, for personal advice. And I'm kind of reiterating what you said. It's like I always say, trust your gut. And they kind of look at me like a cuckoo bird. But I like that you actually put that advice into tools that actually they can physically do and understand or comprehend what that actually means.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of people might think I'm not intuitive or that's not me. And I think we all are. I think we all have whispers and nudges and knowing and inner knowing and wisdom. And I think the more that we can again find the evidence or start listening and to our bodies in whatever way that it might mean being barefoot on the beach or taking a walk in the forest or journaling or in meditation like doing a body scan. And I think that the more that we can practice that, everyone can find a synchronicity or find a message, and they don't really understand it or understand if it's true, if it is intuition or not. So I think, yeah, ways to prove to yourself and to other people that, yeah, this is real, this is happening.
So, because you have so many amazing tools that you've shared so far, if you could offer one piece of advice to someone who feels lost or unsure of who they are or meant to be, what would that one thing be?
Hmm. Yeah, I do have lots, so I'm gonna have to sit with this. I could answer this in 50 different ways, but what's coming through right now to say, so I'm going to trust that someone needs to hear this, is that we can't see it for ourselves sometimes because we're so deep in maybe the challenge or the struggle. I love the exercise of just like finding 3 to 5 people that you trust and just when you're lost, unsure about yourself, unsure what move to make, and just unsure about everything. It's like turning to 5 people, 3 people even, at least 3 people, I would say, and just asking them some important questions like, "What do you see in me that are my strengths?" I call them superpowers, but, my strengths or my gifts. Or where do you see I'm holding myself back? right? You can pick like 2 or 3 questions and ask these people, and sometimes just getting reflection of people saying to you, "Oh my God," when you have like 3, 4, 5, 6 people saying like similar things, you have to believe it, right? Like it's not coincidence. So sometimes, yeah, I don't know why that came through. I haven't thought about that in a while, but it is one of the exercises I give to my clients a lot when they can't see it for themselves.
That's such a wonderful way to approach if you're having a hard time identifying something and picking those people that you trust and having them be your mirror
Mm.
and reflect back. I really appreciate that. I'm definitely going to try that.
Really life changing when I did it with my son. He's 10.
Mm.
Mm.
And what did he say? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I did it over the summer with my husband and son, and it was the eye-opening piece, like, the thing that you're like, you don't wanna hear is just, like, that I work a lot, and so hearing that is, like, heart getting ripped out of, your chest is like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna work on that." Like, I'm gonna work on not being on my screen, and it really is yeah, when you hear something like that from a kid and, yeah, my husband too, similar. Of course, when people are close to you and they love you, they're going to tell me the truth, and then when I ask, I say, "You can say anything. I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna be mad. You can say anything." So that's another thing, you have to be ready. And so that was a real big eye opener for me because I don't wanna miss out on my family's life.
Yeah, no, and that's a really great way to open up communication with people. So not only grow, from the information they give you, but just what a wonderful way to communicate with others.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, also equally, I think, valuable to give feedback as well, give and receive.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about you reinventing yourself and these pivots and just growing and learning. What would you say that you're still continuing to work on as you move forward?
I think the thing that is speaking to me right now is I really believe we all have our own way of doing things. And I think we can get caught up. I know I have, and I work with a lot of women, and I know a lot of women have gotten caught up with the way other people are doing things, the way society says you should be doing things, your partner, even past versions of yourself. We can be really hard on ourselves. And I really believe that we're all on our own cycle and season and to really honor that. It's like I have bursts of creativity where I can't stop and I want to do a lot. And I used to shame myself thinking that, oh, I'm hustling or I'm grinding and that's bad, that's negative, right? But these days it's not about hustle, it's about alignment, all these things. But like sometimes I want to hustle. And so really giving myself permission for that. And then there are times where I'm not inspired and nothing's coming through. And I would beat myself up over that. Like, oh, I'm everything's going to fall apart because nothing's coming through for me. So this is just one example of how I honor this in my business is when I'm in flow, I flow. And when I'm not, I pause. I won't sometimes I don't do anything like, but, be creative or take a trip, for no reason. And that used to be really hard for me because not being productive was like, my biggest nightmare. So that's like one example. So how could someone that's listening that's not a business owner, use this in their life? It's the same thing. It's like sometimes we're more energetic and we want to hike and do the things and plan a trip. And then sometimes we just need to sleep more, right? We just need to sleep more and we need to read more and we need to be inside more, right? And I think again, we can shame or ourselves thinking we need to be going, 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 doing, doing, but really honoring the ebbs and flows, the ways that we operate, the ways that we do things and approach life. Like there is no right or wrong way, right? It's like if I whittled it out to one thing is, you can do it your way. And again, that comes from intuition, that comes from taking imperfect action, it comes from letting yourself be a beginner. Yeah, just knowing that, like trusting your coming back to trusting yourself, accepting yourself. It's like, bam, that's it.
Totally agree. It's funny, I tried to do that challenge. I can't remember where I found that, but it was a challenge on like just focus and do one thing without multitasking. Like whether it's like making your morning coffee and then checking your phone, like not doing it at the same time.
Mhm.
And I tried it for literally 3 minutes and it was almost borderline impossible for my brain to do that. So it's like I'm, grinding coffee beans and it's just like, so I completely
Yeah.
agree and understand with what you're saying because it's so hard to like just stop, pause. Like you actually have to like practice that almost.
Mhm. Yeah, it is a practice. I mean, it depends on who you are. Some people need to lean into the pause. Some people need to lean into the action. But I think it's like really kind of leaning into the area that, like me and you talking, I can't even it's like podcast or an audiobook is in my ear, right? It's like always something, but it's like maybe for us it would be to lean into the rest, to lean into the quiet more.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much for all of that. I want to make sure that people know where to find you. I know you're working on a lot of different things, and we'll definitely share them in the show notes descriptions as well as on our website. But would you mind sharing maybe your Instagram handle and maybe some ways or things that they might find on your website?
Yeah, I am at with Claudia Whitney on Instagram, which I'm sure will be in the show notes. So really, if anybody has any questions or about anything, they can always just DM me there. That's the easiest. And I have a Fear Alchemy workbook that if anyone is transitioning, pivoting, feeling a lot of fear around that, I have this workbook that's free that I created. I'm also thinking about creating a meditation to go along with that. But right now, there's a workbook. And yeah, I have things coming up like retreat in Mexico coming up in the summer. So really, if they reach out to me via Instagram, that and I'll leave the link for the Fear Alchemy workbook, and then from there we can talk to see if there's any other support that I might be able to provide.
Amazing. Yeah, we will definitely put all of those details in the show notes description and on our website. We have a resource page where we put any offerings as well as ways to get directly connected to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And we appreciate you sharing that workbook. I went to go do it the other day and then it was like, okay, create a space. And I was like, wait, I need to do that. So we really appreciate it. And if you'd like to share, is there any like final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, I always have something to say. I would just want to say is like reinvention and is not about starting over. It's about taking everything that you've learned, extracting that wisdom and expanding your life. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be for what's next for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, always have amazing things to say. And I always take so many nuggets from every interaction I have from you and all the work that I'm seeing you're doing. So I admire you so much and really grateful to have you on the podcast. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I feel so blessed.
To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Transforming and Thriving. We'll be back every other Monday with more inspiring stories. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app and follow us on Instagram so you can be a part of this community and stay up to date with each episode. Feel free to leave a review so that we can get your valuable feedback and other people can find these powerful stories. We're all in this crazy life together, so let's move through it together. See you there.